Arise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here for another episode of our Void one-shots. That's right, this is our new character. I'm not even going to give any... That's it. That's all I'm going to say. This is our new character. That's all you get. You've seen glimpses of them on the ship,
That's
but
because
now...
that's all Mike knows.
That's true. Well, you've seen glimpses of them on the ship, but now you get to see the real thing. That being said, if you guys like what we do here and you want to support the channel, you can join us over on our Patreon for all of our behind-the-scenes exclusives. Link for that down below. Be a part of the conversation. Join us on the Discord. Link also down below. And as always, on the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the corruption bar that serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills, Dot gets to do what the hell she wants to KP, and he just gets to suffer in madness.
I have...
No, Dot.
Yeah.
Save me.
And
I has 9.
Wait, all those
9
9s are for me?
9 dotness points.
What?
Right
Yikes.
Wait, hold on. Wait, don't I get a mulligan?
Nope.
What's it?
You get nothing. The second...
I got 9.
The second thing
This
that
is your
corruption...
fuck ups. Why am I getting them?
Use them all, Dot. The second thing that corruption bar does is every single dollar that goes into that goes back to this specific cast for us to do awesome, cool things for Season 3. I think the last thing we're pushing towards is nothing. We've succeeded on every single goal to include 3-hour episodes.
What up?
So everything else goes for us just being awesome. That being said, one of the bars has already been filled. So with that,
So I don't have to use that darkness point.
Dot, I turn things over to you. Take KP to space for the first time.
Well, I feel it's important for you to tell us who you are, KP, because this may be the first time that some of these people are even meeting you. So why don't you introduce yourself, and then if you would like, you can tell us anything that you would like to share up front about your character. If you would like to hold it all for in-game, that is also
All
a
right.
suitable answer.
Hello, everybody. My name is KP. I go by KP11 Studios on pretty much all your social medias. So on Twitter, Instagram, used to have a Facebook. I don't even bother. So don't bother. Just Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. I do live streaming. I do anything that's related to Indian culture. So as you can see, I'm kind of representing right now. Primarily, though, I'm a photographer. I do cosplay and portrait photography, but recently have kind of, due to the current situation, have not dabbled as much as I'd like in that. I'm also the Gilmore that you probably have seen around. If you are into Critical Role or anything, I do cosplay of Gilmore, so if you might have known me from that. What else? That's my mind's going blank, to be honest. I'm just so excited to be here. I'm just like, speaking words.
So KP has had the both great joy and I don't know, crazy ride of getting to rewatch all of this every Wednesday. I've tried to make everyone that I can to watch KP watch the shenanigans, because it's very telling, and I'm very excited because over and over again it was kind of like shouting to the icons of this blank space in the group's dynamic. Over and over there was always a kind of a missing link, and I very much look forward to the balance that your character, I hope, brings to our party in this in what's going to be a much darker turn, I think, for Season 3.
Just chuck me into the deep end.
So over the last few months, we've been going character by character, and we've been working backwards down the timeline. Spoiler alert for all of you that have not finished Season 2. At the end, so KP, Sewell is arrested, and yes, he's arrested. That's all I'll say to that. That's the only spoiler piece I'll give about that. And so we started a year after that. Oh, excuse me, 9 months really, with Tal. And then with Malik, 6 months. And then Tamir, 3 months after his arrest. But your timeline's actually going to start many years back, because all of you know how much I love a good flashback. How old would you say your character is now?
At this time, I would say she's about 13.
Okay. No, I mean like if we were to start timeline specific a year from here, how old would your character be?
I would say around 27.
Okay. So we're going to go back probably 15 years or so.
Okay. Yeah.
To a little bit of a different time. You know, the Portal Wars have only like happened recently in the last 60 years, and so the closer you or back along a timeline you get to that, the more you realize how much it affected everything. It affected growth, and but it also stimulated new things and new villages and new outcroppings and new colonization of planets all across the third horizon.
Mm.
One of which is a small village on a very dry desert planet called Yuharu. Its landscape is sand that has been pressed by wind and time into wave-like structures all along its surface. And your village is built up behind sandstone walls, as most villages are, to keep out all kinds of things. But at 13, you would have friends. It's a rather well-populated village. And as this memory, we'll call it, replays in your head of your village, who do we see? What do you look like as you sit with your 4 best friends?
All right. So you see a young girl, about 13 years of age, but unlike other young girls her age, she is tall. Actually, quite tall indeed. For the age of 13, one would expect maybe 5'1", 5'2", max 5'5". She's hitting close to 6 feet. You can tell that she's quite lean, athletic, but almost skin and bones also. Like there's just a strength there, but it's hidden behind. You can't really tell until it's necessary. She definitely looks, so she's quite dark. The way I like to describe her skin was it's dark, umber brown skin with copper undertones. Her hair is long, almost shoulder length, but almost frazzle looking. It doesn't look like it's been taken care of very well. She looks quite almost a little bit malnourished, not quite like, bad, but just, okay, definitely not someone that is, well-to-do. And she's properly clothed. So it's not like, she's, in rags or anything, but it's definitely nothing too fancy or nothing. It's just, common clothing, very utilitarian, very farmer-esque. But her hair, unlike any, it's actually silver in color, which I forgot to mention. So yes, it's silver in color. And what else do I want to describe? I think that's pretty much it. I think there it is.
Well, you sit here with your 4, you call them your 4 best friends, but you're the kids of this village of a similar age. With you is a set of twins named Tuck and Tick, Samina, and, well, you kind of named this kid. Your family all but adopted them as they wandered in one night out of the desert. What do you call your best friend who is a mute?
I think I chose Babir, I think is what I called him. Babir.
Babir. I love that. And Babir sits there. Chat's already getting cheeky. I see you. I see you, Chat. And the 5 of you kind of what do you do for fun? What do you do for fun in this desert village?
Oh boy. I mean, it's not that big of a village. It's a matter of just Whatever we can find lying about. It's a matter of just at this point pure imagination. So a stick is not a stick, but a sword. A stone is not a stone, but a ball. So it's just a matter of exploration and looking up into the stars and wondering what's out there, knowing that there's other things out there. It's not like they're completely isolated. They know that there are other worlds that, once in a while you do have ships come in for various reasons. But it's just constant dreaming of a better life, constant wonder of what else is out there. And if there is anything more than that, or if this is life, this is what it is. So,
and maybe we see the five of you pontificating about what's out there. Like, oh, I bet there's aliens, or I bet the spacecrafts. And one of the twins like makes the gesture of using a gun, like a like adjudicator or something. There's this kind of like play that happens between all of you about dreaming what's beyond this place. And rarely do you see ships come in or out. That's not what you do here. Your village, in fact, stands in the shadow of a rather large dirt mound. I'm not even going to call it a mountain. It's actually built rather narrow and tall, the way we might imagine like an anthill in some way, but in mass size. It seems to have some kind of, I wouldn't even really call it heavy machinery, light machinery near the bottom. And then the village is kind of built around it. And you would know that your village mines this is a abandoned anthill is what this is. It's an abandoned anthill. And from it, you mine the remains of Umbria from this sun anthill, which is why you have sandstone walls, because the sun ants are kind of a terror for
bitch. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah. So here you are playing, and almost as if the icons heard you. You see a strange light that kind of appears on the horizon and is quickly approaching. It seems to be a vessel, a small transport ship of some kind. This is not like the one that comes in to pick up the Umbria. No, this is not like the pirates that pay your village when they come pick up the Umbria. This is something different, someone different. Yeah, your friend Babir pulls your sleeve a little bit and like points as this vessel, it kind of billows your gray hair as it passes over.
What? So I tried to set it up for her younger version, but I couldn't manage it. So I'm just going to.
That's all right.
I'll reveal her actual voice later. So this is just pretend a young girl. What is it?
Sabina goes, oh, who do you think it is?
I mean, your usual pirates, probably. I don't know. Just maybe a bigger pirate.
Tuck and Tick go, I'm so tired of pirates. Can't we ever get like a commando?
Ooh, that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What would you do if you saw them? Would you play? Would you? I wish I could touch that.
Both of them like salute, together. Clearly this kind of like dream of leaving this place to serve is there. And it's actually your mother, the voice of your mother that you hear. You see her silhouette, almost as if the sand in the air blocks extended distance. And you can see her up on a set of stairs as she waves and she calls out, and she simply says, Aalyah, come. I have someone I want you to meet.
Yes, Mama. She turns around to us. All right. Well, see you all tomorrow, yeah?
And they kind of nod. Of course, Babir follows you. Samina and Tuck and Tick kind of stick behind and continue. Maybe they even run towards the ship. I'm sure they want to like see it up close.
Turn immediately to Babir. I'm gonna go. Lucky. Why do we have to go in home now? If you want, you can go over there. I'll talk with Mama. No? You sure? Okay. All right. Come on.
And he kind of like his eyes twin a little bit, like, I don't know, there's like a ship, and that's really cool, but like you're his big like sister. So there's like, yeah, no, he's there for that. So
she holds out her hand and grabs hold and then, leads him forward.
Does the same. And when you arrive inside of what I would imagine is rather quaint living, like I don't know why, but like the structures from Tatooine come into mind. You know what I mean? Like sandstone. Yep. I think they're a little bit better built than that. Like it's actually brick sandstone type stuff, but like the square structures of just like desert.
Very simple
sand floors, like sands everywhere. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And I imagine your mother's trying to get it off what little bit of solid is ground is in here as she kind of brushes the sand out of the back door. And
I just remember the infamous quote from
oh yeah,
I hate sand, it gets everywhere.
It gets everywhere. And that's literally this life and this place that you live. And at your kitchen table is somebody you've never seen before. She is tall and thin. She wears not clothes from around here, that's for sure. At least you've never seen anything like it. This long, dark robe with kind of beautiful embroidery around the sleeves. As she pulls her hood back, you see that she is, in fact, bald, pretty much entirely. And she turns around and with a very warm smile, she says, I am so excited to meet you. I'm Priestess Sholly.
Aalyah stays quiet. She kind of just more recedes against the wall and kind of just slightly hunches over and kind of just, her head's down, but she's kind of eyeing up and down halfway through. She's just trying to be like, no one's ever talked to her. No foreigners ever talked to her. It's always been like they come in, they take care of business and leave. And so she's never actually, so she's never actually interacted anybody beyond her town, her people, her friends. Mm-hmm. So she's very much like reclusing herself from the situation.
Yeah. So she says, don't be afraid. Your mother has invited me, and your mom looks at you and kind of very much nods. And she says, I invited Priestess Sholly because you've been having those the fits, Aalyah.
Mom, why? I told you that's not something it's personal.
I was worried, and Priestess Sholly is a bit of an expert.
You're not going to stick me with needles, are you? I've heard of those.
Says, there are many ways to do things, none of which involve needles. At least, not that I know of. And she says, but there is tea. Would you like some tea?
Tea? I don't. What's tea?
You can see that she's brought a couple things. They're out on the table, maybe as gifts or offering to your family for hospitality and for welcoming her into your space. And tea. And she says, your mother's brewing up some now. And your mother smiles and says, we've not had tea in a long time. Come on. And so she puts around for everybody, including Babir, who Sholly very much welcomes to the table as well.
Oh, Aalyah's pretty much like dragging him everywhere. Like she's holding him close. Yeah. Like she's like a part of it is like coming from a protective older sister. The other part is just stick around me. I am uncomfortable. Stay by you. You know.
Babir, of course, does not drink the tea. Babir is a rather untrusting child, and though has acclimated to the village, has not always acclimated to everything. And Babir tends to not eat very much. So Sholly simply looks at you and she says, I have similar fits.
You do?
You'd be surprised at how many people do.
I've never, it's only ever been here, me. It's only ever been me.
It's right.
Is it this many? She just holds out her hand.
And she says, it's actually many more than that. I've been contacting each of us one by one. We are special, Aalyah.
how am I? I know I'm tall. I know Mama says I'm special
That
because,
is very special.
but and is that the type of special you mean? Are there other tall people like me?
She goes, yes, there are many tall people. And she actually stands. She's not a short woman by any means. She doesn't bridge 6 foot, but she's not necessarily a tiny lady. And she says, but, and then sits back down. When we are special, those who are not fear us because we are different.
I'm not scary.
I know this. Unfortunately, they do not. And as much as I'd like to say that I could change the hearts of everyone, I can't. But I can train you.
Okay. I mean, like in mathematics, I can count till 100. That's the most I can do. But do you mean fighting? I'm not much of a fighter. I don't.
Oh, no. Neither am I. In fact, she kind of gestures. No weapons. I mean, train in your abilities. You feel the tiny hand in yours kind of squeeze a little bit.
Kind of turns her head. When she turns, is he like looking at me? Is he assuring, like in an assuring voice, or like in an assuring sense?
That's a good question. Sounds like we need a roll.
Uh-oh.
He's not trying to hide it necessarily, but if you want to read him, let's get our first roll. So Aalyah, I'm gonna say this is kind of an empathy roll.
Okay.
This is an empathy roll.
Okay, there it is. Okay. Do I just do the straight up click the button or?
Yep, just click the die right next to the number in your empathy box.
Got it.
And then it should pop up a modifier. Yep, perfect.
There it is.
Okay. He doesn't seem worried like this woman's bad. He seems worried about the idea maybe of your powers or increasing your powers in some way.
Hmm.
So, I don't know. He can't really say anything, but he just kind of looks at you and squeezes your hand as if he doesn't want you to go.
I squeeze it back and kind of just smile at him.
Shirley actually kind of senses it and smiles at Babir, and she says, I see you have a protector.
He's a good one, yes. He's quite observant. He likes to keep around.
Uh-huh. I think Shirley's gonna roll for something. Let's see if she figures it out now or later. All right. Excuse me. Okay. She only got a limited success. Okay. She kind of squints and she says, well, everybody needs a protector.
Yeah. I guess we're each other's. But so how long will you be here to train me?
For a short time, a few weeks maybe, but and she kind of looks at your mother for a little bit of backup, and your mother says, Aalyah, your father and I, we thought maybe you could go with Priestess Shirley.
But me?
Not forever.
Mama, are you sending me away?
We are. No, and she you can tell she's struggling with that idea of like how
I
to explain
know,
this to you.
I know there was a drought this year, and I know that we've been a little short on food, but I can cut back. I know I say I talk about going into space, but I don't mean it. I don't.
Your mother, she kind of rushes across the kitchen and puts her hands in yours, and she says, Aalyah, your father and I are worried People in the village are whispering. And somebody the other day told one of the pirates about you. They will send people.
Come with me. What?
We can't. We have to stay here and finish paying off our debts. You know that. And Sholly stands up and kind of looks out, like almost through the wall of your house, as if she sees something that you don't. And she says, we must go. Now.
What?
And
Wait,
you
what's going on?
hear then a ship pull in on the far side of the village, a very large one.
What is...
Sholly says, they've come. Your mother says, gather your things right now. Go. Everything you can put in a bag. And so there's kind of, I imagine, a montage.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very reluctant. Like it's more of like her like trying to figure things out, and more of her mom like stuffing things into the bag for her.
And you begin to hear gunshots, gunfire, something that your village doesn't really have guns. The pirates don't let you have them. At the end of the village, people begin screaming. You can hear the heavy footsteps and the sounds of voices off in the distance. They are questioning people. And Sholly says, quickly, we're going to get in my craft and we will get out of here. And she looks at Babir and she says, you're coming too.
Aalyah grabs onto her mother's arm. She goes, Mama, please don't come with me, please.
And
you're not safe here, please.
She kind of puts her hand on your face and she says, we'll be fine, but none of us, you have to go. You have to stay alive so that you can come back to us.
Okay. If it's okay.
And she kind of kisses you on the forehead. You hear the sound of a door in the back. This is your father kind of arriving. He's sweaty and has clearly run across town. And he says, you have to go now. And she kind of, that moment of him taking everything in, and Sholly rushes you out of the front door and kind of down an alleyway. There's dust in the air from all of the sand. It's getting late and dark. And you can hear the sound of tick and tack. Or tuck and tick, I'm sorry. Tuck and tick as they, one of them goes, look, real soldiers.
Tick,
and
tuck.
And the other one goes, it's cool, they've got guns.
Aalyah really doesn't know what to say at this point, honestly speaking.
Yeah,
She's
you
still
can
like
see them down an alleyway. Sholly would definitely see them at least as well, if you feel like Aalyah's in a bit of a just like follow shock, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think at that point, all she says, I think the only thing she'll say is, my friends.
She sees the two kids, and you can see the soldiers are like, hey, grab those kids, because they're here for a kid. And soldiers begin running at them, and the two boys, almost too late, realize that this is not like a plaything anymore, just in time for Sholly to step up. And she's going to... Oh, that's not how that algorithm works. Y'all, she just rolled 4 6s. She steps up, and you watch her kind of step in front of the two boys as these two commandos in like full suit armor, guns in hand, pointed at them, step up. And she looks the both of them in the eyes and she says, turn around and walk back to your ship. And both of them kind of like stop, and you can see there's like a moment where their bodies struggle. They're going to get a chance to save. They do not. They fail miserably. And that both of them like stiffen. One of them begins to cry. You can see it because she's basically controlling their minds. And they both turn, put the guns in safety, and walk around the corner back towards the ship. And she grabs Tuck and Tick.
Wait, there's one more. Samina. Where's Samina?
You can see actually both of them at the same time, they're twins. They point, and you can see she's hiding behind some crates and she's crying.
Samina, come. Are you okay?
She's like, they got, and she's just kind of crying, and Sholi scoops her up, and she says, you're okay. And you can see that they are, if you look behind you as you run towards Sholi's vessel, they are devastating this town. They show very little mercy when it comes to hunting the children that are here. And the 5 of you make it onto Sholi's vessel. And she takes off as you see your village for the first time from the air. From a space, you're in a spaceship, right? You can see that, like, you've got everything that your mother put together for you, which is a small pack. There's like I'd say there's like a jar that has some like foods and things in it that's like strapped on there. There's like everything that she gave you, everything that Babir could carry. The other 3 don't have anything. Sholi is like panting as she's trying to get off this planet, as you can see small explosions light up the sky.
You just see that at that point, like Aalyah scream, "Mama!" like yelling it out, and like continuously, like it's "Mama, Mama!" and like basically like pressed up against the window that's there, or whatever viewing panel is there, just trying to almost as if to like break through.
Yeah, and you maybe even put your hands against that like window as you kind of look out. All of you do kind of crowd around any window that you can as you watch the town begin to burn. I know it's sand, but what you can of it burns. And the ship takes off and begins following. And you hear Sholi say, "Everybody, please find a seat and hang on."
Okay. And at that point, like you get to see Aalyah kind of compartmentalize a little bit, realizing that there's nothing really more she could do. The best she could do is, being probably the oldest of the bunch, just kind of corral everybody and kind of calm them down, kind of essentially take charge, because she kind of has been like the, even though they don't say they're all friends, it's been like, she's been the older one. So everybody kind of, looks up to her. She kind of mothers them a little bit.
Maybe you all crowd together, a group of friends, and they kind of hang on to you as the oldest of the group. There's some straps and things that you can like hang on to, and everybody can kind of binds themselves into, you know what I mean?
And she should definitely like as they corral, like her hands are all next to them and kind of bringing them closer. And while their heads are down, she's kind of shushing them and telling, it's okay, it'll be fine. Yeah. We'll be fine. And then, but the thing is, they don't realize that she's crying as well. Like she's trying to look strong, and they don't see, like she's trying to avoid their gaze.
I think Babir reaches up with a small hand and brushes the tear from your cheek. And maybe when you look down to see him in your arms, you realize that he does not look scared. He is not crying. In fact, you don't know that you've ever seen Babir cry or act with extreme emotion. Granted, it's not his village. He walked into it, but he's grown up there. And he shows just little to no emotion in the moment, but seems to want to comfort you in some way.
I pull him closer and hug him tighter.
And we get the first blast from the vessel behind, and you hear the like boop 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 boop, right, as like lights and things flash inside, and Sholi's trying to like pilot this vessel. She's very clearly not a pilot, but she is doing the best that she can. And she says, "Hang on," and she slips between 2 sandstone like mountains into a crevice and groove as she kind of turns it on its side, and it slips through. And as it does, it nicks the side, and you hear the vessel go woo woo as it starts to go down, and you crash into the sand. Sholi immediately turns back and she goes, "Is everybody okay?"
If you don't mind me saying one thing at this point, can I have this moment where something heavy breaks off and basically falls on Tuck's feet, and he's stuck underneath there?
Yes, she turns around and sees that is in fact like he's stuck, and she goes, oh my gosh, and she kind of rushes over.
And in the meantime, Aalyah
also impaled,
And now Aalyah at this point also runs over and is trying to lift up this heavy object, but it's just she can't She's really unable to. She's trying her level best, but it's beyond her at this point.
Sholly says, everything is better when you do it with friends. And she kind of sticks her hands under it, and his brother and Samina come over and pick it up. But Beer, in fact, does not. And I think maybe with all of you.
Yeah.
It starts to like eke open, and he's able to kind of like slip past, and it crashes. And Sholly sees that he's probably bruised and has like some cuts and abrasions. He's not like bleeding out or anything like that, I would assume.
It's like a light limp or something.
A light limp, yeah, like definitely a sprained ankle, maybe from the crush or something like that. But immediately Sholly gets down on her knees and she says, as long as everyone is okay. And she closes her eyes and she begins to pray. And you hear her whispering these chants. I don't know how spiritual the town was.
I think her mother and them, spiritual in the sense of, I feel like they would say like praise the icon when things happened, but she, being young herself, doesn't really know too much about it. She kind of is more of just mimicking everything that her parents do. So she probably is actually doing similar things now. Like she sees Sholly as the authority figure, and seeing her do this, not instinctively, but just like out of habit, out of muscle memory, starts praying herself, like closing her eyes and coming closer and just following the lead, I guess.
And Sholly begins to pray, and you feel the like crashed vessel begin to kind of like rock a little bit with the pressure of the wind. Now, windstorms are normal. You've lived through them your whole life, but they don't start up this fast. And she prays and she prays and you pray, and maybe the twins join you out of some hope for whatever's happening. Samina and Babir, I don't think, join you.
Okay.
But she begins to pray, and this massive sandstorm rushes over you. You can feel it like rocking the ship as it begins to bury this vessel. And Sholly finally stops praying. And she says, well, we're here now. At least for a little while, until they can't find us.
But we are buried. How are we going to get out?
She says, we'll dig our way out.
Okay, if you say so.
She says, you cannot worry about the what if. We must live in the now. And right now, we are safe. And we are alive. This is something to rejoice. As is the sandstorm gifted to us by the icons.
Some gift.
Gifts take many forms, oftentimes overlooked.
She just nods.
Babir is in the corner, kind of watching her. And something happens, Aalyah. Something that has never happened before. He opens his mouth and speaks. You are powerful. You are not like the other mortals I fed upon. You have real power. Sholly's eyes grow wide as she looks at the child in the corner.
Mm-hmm. At that point, Aalyah kind of just turns and goes, "But Babir? Is that... you speak?"
Let me try this again. I'm going to try it with the voice mod now.
Let me see if it works. Yeah.
First off, he ignores you, first thing. Second thing he does is he looks at Sholly and he says,
I will feed upon your dreams until you are nothing but flesh and bone.
Sholi stands up and she says, "Children, do me a favor. Stand behind me, please."
Aalyah hears this, but she's, because considering Babir is like a brother to her, she was she like starts approaching him. "Babir, are you okay? Are you sick? What happened? You can speak." And honestly, she's actually a little overjoyed because she heard him speak for the first time. She thought, he couldn't, or maybe some kind of trauma is preventing him. So the fact that he did, the content didn't register. It's just that he spoke. And so
he looks right at you this time, his eyes jet black, filled with the darkest of dark, a void, some might say. And he looks at you and says,
"I am not Babir. I am an ancient one. I have plagued your village for decades, taken many forms. I have appreciated your friendship, but now I must move on."
and he steps forward, and Sholi kind of grabs you very gingerly by the shoulder, and she says, "Just a moment. May I have that jar?"
"Jar?"
Says,
And then she looks
"Yes."
down, and then I'm assuming she's holding a jar.
Yeah, like your mom kind of packed the jar, there's a jar there.
She removes, and she goes, "I mean, I doubt he wants to eat anything right now, but if you think that's going to calm him."
She says, "Thank you." He says,
"That sorry piece of ceramic will be no housing for my soul. I have ruled the third horizon for more time than your mind can even process."
He's
Well.
in shock.
"He is not who you think he is, Aalyah. That is a jinn."
Jinns are, they're myths, they're stories, they're children's stories. You can't. Baby, tell her.
Yes. Jinn. A term whispered by mortals in fear. I am known as a jinn, but I have many names.
Immediately, Aalyah, at that point, she actually starts getting angry. Like, instead of being scared or anything,
yeah.
she goes she's like now the older sister mode. She goes, "Babir, okay, that's enough, okay? You're scaring the kids. I know this is a joke. It's funny. It's ha ha. It's all fun and games. I'm glad you can speak, but you're taking it too far. Please."
And he says,
You're right. Fun and games are over.
Fuck.
and he kind of steps out of the shadows, and you can see that the veining in his neck runs with this kind of icky blackness, and he begins to change in front of you and show you his true form. I'm going to say the three kids in the back have kind of, they're hiding themselves because this is scary. But you and Sholi are going to have to roll.
Oh.
Yeah. Let me see. I believe, if I'm correct, the jinn, check and see here. Yeah, this is, I'm going to let you make a wits roll because this is to keep your wits about you in that case. Shirley's going to do the same thing.
All right, I'm going to roll.
Okay.
Oop.
Failure. Now, remember, you can always give me a darkness point to reroll, or you can just accept. You can just, okay, go
You
for
have
it.
10
darkness points.
or 9 or how many?
I still have 1 corruption bar.
That's right. Sorry, you have 9. I think you said you had 9, and then you also have a corruption bar. So
I have 2
no,
corruption
actually, we have
bars,
2.
technically. I spent 1 to crash your ship. I spent 1 to crash the ship. But,
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so you can re-roll.
All right, screw it. We'll do it.
It's okay. Sholly failed too. So I'm going to spend what you gave me to re-roll for Sholly.
Okay, here, let me, I'll do it again.
No!
God damn it.
Okay, he is
No.
scary. He like, it's almost like the flesh just dissolves, dissipates into thin air, and what it reveals is this black, smoky creature. Both of us have to roll for
Okay.
we now have an actual effect on us. This is
Oh,
cool. It's
fine.
I was like, I'll pass that roll. It'll be fine. Well, here we are. Here we are. I'm gonna have to look it up. Sorry. So yeah, I imagine Sholly, this actually takes Sholly back a little bit. Nobody ever sees a jinn like this and really survives, except for Sewell, which, we know how that turned out. Okay. Would you like to take any kind of action before Sholly does? Because she is going to do something, but I want to give you a chance to actually do it as well.
I think now she's genuinely scared. The only thing she can think of doing is protect the other kids. So she kind of goes back and kind of just like, she kind of does this, like kind of spreads her arms and still facing Babir, but like holds it out and tries to like be like in between him and the rest of the kids.
The rest of the kids? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't find the table, but we'll have to roll a d6 here in a second when I can find it. Okay. So she kind of steps up. It doesn't attempt an attack on her, and you see she kind of as she goes to her knees and like puts her hands on her head. He doesn't make any sound, but his presence, you probably shield your own eyes as well as the kids from looking at this kind of horrific otherworldly creature. She takes those mind points. She's got lots of those, a lot more than hit points, so that's good. But she will retaliate, and she cracks open this jar, and she holds it forward, and she begins kind of chanting, kind of saying something. She is going to roll. Nope. I got my numbers backwards. Okay, she only got one success. She gonna need more than that. And that is exactly what he says.
He begins to laugh. You may be strong, but you are not worthy.
She continues chanting. She will roll again just for the fun of it. Hopefully I don't fail. Come on, Sholly. Show us what you got. Yeah!
Yay!
She steps forward, looks him in the eyes, and continues chanting. And you see something begins to happen. The kind of smoky, dark mist in the air begins to swirl. And and he goes,
No. No. No, you can't do this.
And it pulls him into the jar. The lid snaps on as if magnetized in some way, even though it's just ceramic. And it snatches itself out of Sholly's hand and into the corner of the ship, and it kind of places itself there in the corner.
Is it over?
Sholly goes, it is never over for a jinn, but he is trapped as long as we do not open that jar.
The jar? He's in the jar? How did he... You...
Sholly says, I will explain it to you. But first we must, I need to run a scan and see if they are still looking for us. And she kind of stumbles. You can tell that she's very weak now. She took a major mental hit from this jinn, and she punches some things in and runs a scan, and she says, oh, good. She says, the sun is down. The suns are down. There will be some darkness. Now's a good time to travel. We'll find another vessel. And you can tell this one's completely damaged. Like it's like smoking. There's no way. And so she says, everybody sit back. And she puts her hand on the top. You can see she's tall enough. She puts her hand on the top of this vessel and she begins to hum a sound. And as it does, it kind of rings out and begins to vibrate everything around you. And you watch as the sand around the ship begins to just shake off as her voice kind of empties the top of the vessel. And she says, okay, everyone. And it's open. And as it does, and you crawl out, you can see the wrecked vessel of the people who took over your, basically destroyed the town. Sits off in the distance, more than likely your way off this planet. But you sit up in a cold sweat from this nightmare, a reliving of all of this. Yeah, right? And you sit up and we actually get to see you now. All these years later, 20 plus, in fact, or what I say, 15, in fact, 15 in the future. What do you look like now?
Now, Aalyah, at the age of 27, is still tall. In fact, much taller. If one were to measure her, she's now 6'8". Yeah, so she's become quite tall. But it's even more different than that. Instead of the old, thin, scrawny self that she used to be, you now see a very buff, strong, capable woman. Like, pretty strong. Like, she has boulders for shoulders. Like, she can probably lift that crate that was in there twice over. That fell on her friend that she couldn't lift when she was younger. She can now probably lift that thing now like three times, maybe
three
even
times
like
over. Yeah.
So she's yoked, and her face has, you know, a little bit a very angular, very cut, but very like there's something gentle about it as well. Possibly because like you can see like what is it called, the smile lines that are on her face. So there's that gentleness about her. Her hair still white, and it's like silvery white instead now of like being all sorts of just, you know, weird length and frayed, is sleek and tied up in a bun with her sides shaved, and it's going backwards like this. It's in a bun, but it's like a weird, like almost a mohawkish kind of a bun, braided bun that comes up, and then like thick braids that are coming down to the back and reaching to her back shoulder. With the sides shaved, like I said, and on the sides, you see like golden scriptures that have been tattooed onto it. Her eyes are hazel, like dark hazel in color, brownish hazel in color. And yeah, that's what you see.
We see this woman. Oh yeah.
So I was just going to say her nose definitely looks it looks fine, but it definitely feels like it's been broken several times, and then she set it back in place. Okay. You know what I mean? It's not perfect, slightly crooked. It definitely is not something that, you know, has survived the years very well.
The years, yeah. You sit straight up in a hot sweat. The cellar is always hot. And here on Coriolis, and you're in your own bed, which I imagine is probably rather quaint. The space she would surely live in.
It's actually too small for her. Like clearly, like her feet are hanging off. Like she actually has like a little chair or a stool at the end of the bed just so her feet can stay propped up by at least a good 1.5 feet, I would say. So definitely not her size. It's almost like a coffin bed kind of a situation where she can't like really roll around. If she does, it has to be like in place. I know from this, so you have this, like, from experience.
You definitely have a small, this like small coffin bed. Sholey has an identical one. And of course, a special space has been made for an altar, right? A place that you can like pray or some kind of shrine. But when you roll over, when you sit up and you're breathing and you're trying to come out of these emotions, you look over and Sholey is not in her bed.
hopefully this works.
Mhm.
Surely? Are you there?
Her
Surely?
bags are not there. You even peer around. Maybe you pull back to. Probably there's like a curtain or something that leads to where you can wash up. Maybe this small area you each keep some clothes in, but like a small area and you peer, nothing there. You come back. She did not return last night. She was supposed to. She was. You would know that she was moving another group of people off of Coriolis. She was making the rendezvous with them to get them off, and then she was to come home, and she didn't.
Is there any form of communication that I might have between her?
Probably not, because what you do is so secret, but you could go ask around. You know that there would be places that Sholey would have hit, like there was an order of events. She raised you, and you know exactly how she functions, like how this underground kind of railroad functions to get these people out. So you would be able to ask around, and that would be about it.
Okay. You see her walk into the bathroom first, kind of wash her face, like splash a couple bits of water, kind of reallocate herself, set things back in form. Kind of just, looks into the mirror for a bit, kind of remembers the dream, and like, haven't thought about that in a long time. But I'm trying. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna just leave it be. But
okay, are you actually wanting to use one of your mystic abilities, or what are you trying to achieve in terms of
I was trying to use the voice mod, and if it doesn't, I was just seeing the.
Oh yes, it does work.
Okay,
yes.
I didn't know if it sounded good or not, but
yes.
Apologies.
Yeah, but it was like, is KP modding his voice? Yes, I would say so. Yes, KP is modding voice. So you kind of walk in. You maybe even look at yourself in the mirror. You haven't thought about that in a long time. It was years ago. Since then, and Sholey have done so many things. You've learned so much. She's passed a lot on to you. Most recently, she's become obsessed with two sisters that she's been stalking. Tuma is their last name. You don't know why, but she's become a little obsessed. Believes that they're important in some way.
Okay.
Yeah, but this group of people, I guess, was like supposed to be an easy thing, no problems.
Mm-hmm. She gets dressed, and as she's about to walk out, she grabs a voice modulator, and kind of it's just something that she puts on her throat, and then kind of covers her. She has like a little scarf that covers her face like this, and she walks out and tries to go to the place that she would think that Sholey might have hit already.
So we see you walk out into the cellar. You're on one of the upper levels. I imagine it's like a hotel. It's got like just an open railing that like looks down on the rest of the cellar. And you make your way to the first kind of couple points, right? You would know, the captain that was supposed to move them would be, he would not be back by now, but you would know the dock master, like the illegal docks here in the cellar. So you would know the dock master. You would know the meeting location, which was a cantina here on Coriolis, or here in the cellar, where they were going to meet, and Sholey was going to move them. You know, they would have been moved through the stacks. So that's a location you could also investigate. You know that there is, trying to think. I gotta think about my timeline here. No, you're good. That's
okay.
it. Those would be the three places that you could look into.
The first thing she's going to go into is what was in the stacks again?
The stacks is actually where the people are moved out through to get down to the like illegal docks, basically. Like it's where we hide the people so that nobody knows we're moving people.
Okay. So first things first, she's probably going to go there just to see if Sholey's over there, like doing her last minute preparations. Was she getting ready? Is she already back? So yeah, that will be where I believe she would be at.
She
Or
would be
like,
okay.
yeah, she would try to go too.
You let's see, I gotta think this through. She would have okay, yeah. Okay. So many timeline things are about to come colliding, y'all. I hope you're ready. So you hit the stacks. The stacks are just what it sounds like. Stacks and stacks of these massive metal containers that things are held in. A lot of them have been forgotten. Some of them hold probably rare items, but there's so damn many of them down here that it's like a labyrinth. And you kind of walk the known path of this place, kind of through. You see Sholey's marking and the marking, and you're troubled when you kind of get to the end here because there was very clearly a firefight. So like you kind of slide down this like narrow thing and hang a right, and it leads you to a back door. It's kind of the way out, and you can see that there is blood. Kind of fresh on the ground, and the dark burn marks of like a firefight in this area.
Sorry, wrong one. So she kind of looks around. She's definitely worried at this point. And she kind of tries. Is there a trail of anything, any sort that I can go follow?
I would say, unfortunately, not. You kind of picked actually where you imagine have been her dead end, because she would have gone to the cantina to get them first, right? Because that was rendezvous. Then she would have brought them here, and this is where they would have moved out. But you can kind of slip around the corner, and first off, you can tell there's not enough blood that like all these people would have been shot. It looks like maybe a person was shot. There were, based on the gunfire, maybe 2 or 3 commandos that kind of came through here to do this. And you can see that the door at the end is cracked open as if somebody made it out. And you know that leads out to the illegal docks as well.
Okay. I think at that point she's going to hurry on over to probably check up first on the docks just to see if Sholey is there. If not,
Perfect.
then the next step would be going to the bar. Maybe like, just basically retracing the steps.
Retracing the steps. And so we see you barely fit down this tiny, this is probably the reason why Sholey does this run and not you. It's very hard for you to fit through here, and you slip out of this side door that actually leads you to just like a tiny landing that overlooks these illegal docks on this backside of Coriolis. A ship is actually taking off, and a ship is landing. The side of the vessel is painted the Corsair.
Where have you gone?
Oh, this is the one. She turns around. Surely, how do you hear?
Are you trying to reach out with your like mystic abilities?
I think she's just trying to like observe and see, like, is there any chance like she could be hiding somewhere?
Okay, so you kind of like Sholey.
Yeah.
No, but your thoughts, I guess you could say, may be interrupted by the opening of this vessel. Out walks a few scraggly pirates, but it's who follows. A figure that you know all too well. Beautiful, perfect hourglass shape. Far too beautiful to be traveling in a vessel called the Corsair. It is Samina. That's how you know her anyways. She doesn't go by that name anymore.
Do I instantly recognize her?
Instantly. You can't not recognize her.
Does she recognize me?
I don't think she's quite seen you yet. You're like you're up on like one story above them, kind of looking down, I would say, at this area, but there's like a flight of stairs.
I think Aalyah stays quiet, just kind of observes her and observes the crew walk on by. Doesn't really say anything.
Yeah, okay. So you don't attempt to interact with her in any way.
Not yet. No, she's just kind of observing because at least she's trying to keep a low profile, considering as low a profile as she can, considering her physique. But
Is that my roll? Man, that was a shitty roll. I'm gonna spend another darkness point. So that brings me to 8. I want to I can re-roll. I can has re-roll.
yes,
I can has re-roll, please.
I'm fine with re-rolls like this.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. She doesn't see you. She doesn't see you. What I will say is she's kind of walking. She's carrying a crate, very small, like under her arm. So it's not like huge. It's like a little box. And she stops for a second as if somebody tapped her on the shoulder, but she doesn't turn around. And then she keeps walking.
I think at this point, Aalyah kind of just steps away, takes another look around, and starts heading out, knowing that clearly Sholei's not here.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. You don't see the ship or the captain, which means that he definitely took off. If he took off with the cargo or with the people, that you don't know. But you find your way down into the cellar, all the way over to this cantina. A hole in the wall, absolutely nothing, but it is run by a woman. And she lets Sholei have her people meet here. I mean, they support your efforts, I guess I should say, of moving mystics, and that is enough for Sholei.
What was her?
Her name is. Oh, there's a cantina. I want to give you the right one, but I'm not gonna remember.
No worries.
We'll just call her. We'll call her. She has a really rough and gruff name. She calls herself. You know what? She calls herself Hilda.
Hilda,
which is not a usual name, but she wears it well.
So Aalyah approaches.
Yeah, she's like walking, and she kind of looks up, and she grunts at you.
Greetings, Hilda. Are you well?
She kind of looks around. It's empty. It's like, business as always.
True. This is a good time. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Have you seen Sholei come on through?
Yesterday, she left here with 4 bodies.
Bodies?
People.
She got concerned first.
She goes, always taking everything so literally, kid. And she kind of like wipes it down. She goes, but they left here, headed for the stacks. You know the routine.
Yeah, but it's morning. She hasn't come back.
She
I've
didn't
not seen her since. No.
Nah. He was, wait a second. It was 2 scraggly types were in here last night.
Who? What they look like?
Well, they were scraggly types, but they were talking about a firefight that broke out in the stacks yesterday. Said they took a couple people.
Do you know where they went?
I don't, kid. And she says, look. She says, I know I just give you a space. But the new people you were moving caused some trouble in here. They brought a little bit of attention on themselves. But Sholei seemed interested in still getting him out, so.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later. If you see them again, let me know.
Kind of nods like, okay.
kind of used to the like covered face and the voice modulator and the whole spiel. Like it's just like, oh, there goes my book. She's so used to it. And she then, yeah, she just kind of wipes down bars. She tries to gesture somebody into the cantina. Nobody stops by. Nobody has any money down here for this kind of thing. And you are almost, well, because this is how it is. There are screens, lots of them, kind of everywhere. Some above certain places, some just kind of out in the open. HUD decks that can be used to access the main library of Coriolis, so forth and so on. But today, most of these screens, and maybe it's just because you've been so busy looking for Sholly, they read that the emissary is missing. Now, let's see. What do you know about the emissary? Well, you would know what the average person knows, which is that they appeared about a year ago. They were claiming to be Judge Incarnate, right? They were claiming to be like icons in flesh. And basically one of them walked aboard Coriolis and said they would be an emissary and they wanted a seat on the council. They come from the planet Zine, which is inside of Kua, so inside of this system, but on the it's a planet on the other side of an asteroid belt from where we currently are located. And they are really the first other intelligent life that we have really come across that we haven't created ourselves. Right? So to some degree. So they this is like a lot. A lot of people believe them to be, they speak heresy, that their presence is what has like awakened the darkness, which flows through all of these mystics that are sick, and it's these emissaries' faults. There's a lot of rumors and hearsay, and people have all of these theories about them. But all in all, they're rather mysterious. But the fact of the matter is, one of them has gone missing. And the mysticides, as you and Sholly very much know, because you're on the front line, have been getting worse.
Oh, my icons. What is going on?
You see her kind of, she's trying to figure out what her next steps should be. Now she knows that there's two people that know about the firefight, know about what happened down in the stacks. And so I guess that's where she would want to go and try and investigate to see if she can figure that out.
Why don't we actually get, okay, so we're going to do two things. First off, you've not actually drawn your icon card for our game today. So I'm going to have you draw your icon card. Your icon is the Lady of Tears, yes?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to shuffle the Lady of Tears deck. Along the right-hand side, you should see a few card decks. Scroll near the bottom, I think this is the Lady of Tears. And when you hover over it...
There it is.
Yeah, when you hover over it, one of the cards will pop up the top. Just grab it and drag it out onto the playing deck.
There's one that says draw. Can I just click that, or should I just drag
if you draw it, it's going to put it in your hand, and you're still going to have to drag and drop it. So it's the same. It's the same thing either way.
So, okay. There it is. And then there. Did it work? There it is.
Where?
On the map, it looks like it's.
I see it. I see it.
Yeah,
it was.
Right.
I was looking at. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, Lady of Tears. Oh, a song. This is so good. This is so perfect. This is so good. So maybe you just have to take a minute. This is all rather overwhelming. You and Sholly have been fighting as rebels and fugitives and trying to move mystics your whole life. It's all that you know. Sholly has always come back. And this time she just didn't. And you, maybe in a meditative prayer, maybe in just a breath, you hear a song in the air. Not just in the air surrounding you, but like in the air, amongst everything. It rings out in the darkness. It's beautiful and sad. You can't quite make out what it says, but somebody sings a song, a final song, an effigy for themselves, maybe.
but you can hear it. Maybe it is clear to you, maybe not. But this lost emissary is crying out for someone to save it.
I think at that point, Aalyah kind of just stiffens up for a bit, kind of closes her eyes. And definitely for a second, you see a little bit of tears forming at the edge because it hits her for some reason, even though she doesn't know what the source is or where it's coming from. Does she understand it's from the emissary? Does that register with her?
You could maybe let's roll for that, because I think you definitely know that this is otherworldly, that this is not like somebody in another room singing, that this is something bigger. But let's roll for, you could roll an observation, but I would also take your mystic ability here.
Okay.
I would also take your mystic ability, because I think that I've taken that before for Talentamir for a very similar reason.
Okay. So just click the mystic powers one.
Yep.
Okay.
By mystic powers, there should be a die.
Yeah.
Man, we are just killing it tonight with these horrible dice rolls. Maybe you're just too emotional. Maybe you can't center yourself the way Sholey has taught you all of these years. When push comes to shove, you just can't quite do it. And you hear a voice behind you. A voice you've not heard in a long time. And I'm going to play my second corruption bar here. She says, well, I come back to Coriolis to find the great Aalyah wandering the streets of the cellar.
It's good to see you too, Samina.
I didn't say it was good.
Well, at least one of us has to be in the more diplomatic side.
Do you have to wear the mask, really?
Well, it's for protection. You know this. We never know what eyes are on us. Just because you are comfortable walking around doesn't mean that it's always the case.
Maybe. I'm safer with eyes always on me. It means they can't see the other things that I do. I'd say you look well, but you look distraught.
All right, let's cut to the chase. Sholi's not here. Have you seen her?
I've been dancing on a space station in Towan. No, I'm sorry. What was the middle one? Doesn't matter. Do I look like I've seen Sholey? She doesn't want to see me anyways, right? Great disappointment.
You know that's not true.
Really? Would you like to convince me of that before or after she left me at the orphanage? Thank you. Amira. Yes, I've been dancing on a stage in Amira.
We have had this argument before. I know I cannot convince you like this, but I hope in time you see that was the best option. You are safe. You are successful. And you are here.
Yes. Through no help of Sholey. And to do me a favor, don't call me Samina. My name is Amira.
Doesn't roll off my tongue as well.
Yes, well. You think after, I don't know, a decade, you'd get used to it?
To me, you will always be that little girl that I used to play in the sand dunes with. Nothing you do, nothing you say is probably going to change that.
Yes, maybe. But we both know that little girl died on a spaceship when she stared a jinn in the face. Why are you so... She just kind of gestures to you. I can feel it.
I told you. I can't find Shirley. She was supposed to be here last night.
I'm sure she'll be back. She always comes back. To you, anyways.
Does she know about the runs that Sholi's been doing?
No.
Okay.
She knows... Oh! Actually... I don't know. I would think that Sholi doesn't want her to know. Whether or not she has learned on her own because of the kind of work she does, you don't know that, I would think. I think that maybe that's your speculation. She's very smart, you know that, and very cunning, in a different way than Sholi.
She normally does. But usually there's some form of communication when she does come back. And usually there's a set time that we stick to. It's a schedule. But she didn't, there was no communication. I've gone through all of her routine places that we normally meet or where she normally is at. She's not here. I ask you, and I know history set aside. For the person that saved our lives, have you seen her?
Like I said, I've not laid eyes on her. But you're not as charming as I am, so I'll ask around.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you if I find anything. Well, we can't work together. I have a job to do. And she pats the crate she carries in her arms. I have a meeting.
I won't ask. You don't have to tell.
I wasn't going to. She kind of smiles. As she goes to walk away, she kind of takes your arm in her hand, like kind of grasps your upper arm in her hand and pulls you kind of close, and she says, look, I know you don't like me or whatever, and you have this righteousness about your existence, but we all do what we have to survive. And I'm back for a reason.
Aalyah reaches to her neck, and you can hear a click on the voice modulator, and then she gets closer, places one hand actually right on her, like on her cheek.
Oh, my dear Samina, your mistake is to think that I don't like you. I do. I don't like what you do, but you will always have a place in my heart.
Yes.
And a home to come back to whenever you wish.
My home is my ship. You and I both know that. And you say you don't like what I do, but everybody likes the results. I believe that...
Let me correct myself. I don't like that you have to do it. I don't like that you have to put yourself through it. And I don't like the anger and resentment that's inside of you, and I wish I could take it.
I wish somebody would take it, but they can't, so here we are. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's some foul play in the cellar. I have good word that the Syndicate is making deals to move people, and not the way that you and Sholi move them.
How do you know this?
Let's just say I have my ways, and I have a contact I tend to pump for information.
Okay.
Whether or not Aalyah knows what she's saying is all on you, but that's what she said.
Indeed. Are you safe though? Have you been put yourself in danger?
Always. My job is dangerous. But you know how it is. Listen, there's a woman here in the cellar. She's trouble. More trouble than I am, if you can believe that. Bit of a...
Sure, Aalyah definitely laughs at that.
Yeah, a free spirit, they call her. She has a taste for tattoos.
Tattoos.
Well, that and information. She deals in it, specifically. You'll find her here in the cellar, at this cantina, and she kind of, she whispers a cantina name, and I'm not gonna remember the name of the cantina from the very first episode. There's no way. I don't even know if I named it.
Worries.
It doesn't matter. She gives you the name of a cantina. She says it's, a few cells that way. If she's there, drinking, you might be able to get some information out of her. But be careful. She's a tricky one. And, well, let's just say her face is always changing.
Her face. How would I recognize it if it's changed?
That's the point, isn't it? You're not supposed to.
Well, how am I supposed to know who I'm speaking to? Is there some way I can... I
You're
can't
the
just
one
talk
with
to a random person.
She kind of leans and she goes, "You're the one with the powers, right? I imagine you'll figure it out."
Well, thank you. It's a start. It's a lead.
She kind of nods and she says, "Toodaloo."
Goodbye.
And you spend what I imagine is a couple days stalking this cantina. No sign of her one day. 2 days pass. Shirley's not come back. No word. The station has gotten a little bit more hostile. There are now rumors that people that walk around in commando uniform are not actually commandos, that there's been some kind of insurgency, or there's like, basically they're posing to take people away. It's getting, the pressure is rising. But on the third day, you walk into this cantina and there's a woman in the corner. She's blonde. She has her hair, much like yours, kind of tight back, but in like a ponytail. She wears a jumpsuit and a few bits and like belts and things that like hang off of it because she's got a lot of stuff. She's got a blaster on her hip. And she slams down a shot glass and lets out a belch much too large for her body. And she says, "I told you fuckers I could drink you under the table." And somebody goes, "Ah!" And they kind of like pass around some money, and she seems to be making a bit of a scene.
I approach her. And would I, based on the usual clientele, would I immediately understand that she's new and she's not been here, at least, possibly is the one? Is there a way to find out?
You've not seen her here in the last 3 days. This cantina is, okay, y'all, chat. This is a different cantina than the one we were just at. Shirley did not do her business at the same cantina she found Tal at.
Okay.
Okay, so these are different cantinas for everybody. So this one, though, is called Rashina's Cantina. And there's, Rashina's behind the bar pouring drinks as fast as she can because they're having this drinking competition. You have a name. I would say probably on her way. Yeah, when Samina went to leave you, she probably whispered in your ear, "Tuma."
She approaches Aalyah. Aalyah goes to the barkeep and gets close to Rashina and goes,
Busy night.
"Only when she's around. That's why I let her stay."
Who is she? She's quite a display.
She kind of smiles and she says, "A lot of people ask who she is. She's whoever she needs to be."
Indeed. Well, can you? And then she slides.
A credit and goes
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Give some burr
and
over.
yeah, burr over, and she goes,
Can you perhaps send a drink for her from me?
She kind of smiles and she says, she goes, not a lot of people try to pick her up in a bar. But I'll send her a drink. And she kind of walks over and passes another round, and she pours a different drink than like a shot, like a nicer one, probably her favorite, right? Something dark and in like a short glass. And she kind of leans over and whispers and walks away, and you see this kind of blonde head lean, the ponytail and everything, like lean out from around all of these men that she's drinking under the table, and she kind of squints and eyes look you up and down. Maybe now you can see on her arm, she's got the like jumpsuit rolled up. She's got some tattoos all along her arms. And she kind of stands up and lets out another belt, and she says, I'm bored with all of you. Piss off. And they're like, oh. And she kind of pushes them like to the side. She's drunk. And she kind of stumbles over and puts the glass that you paid for down. And she says, so. She goes, wait. Where's your drink?
"Oh, I just I'm trying to hold off tonight. I apologize. Not much of a drinker. I just appreciate those who can, though. And I saw you, and you are definitely quite something."
I have many talents. Drinking is
Indeed.
one of them.
I see.
So, is this like gonna be a thing? You want to go for a walk, or like, what's the?
I find sometimes conversations in a ruckus bar tend to flow a little bit smoother than any isolated place. Besides,
Oh, you want somewhere quiet? Okay. She like gets up. She's like, just follow me, and she.
Aalyah's like, no.
she stop. I mean, if you touch her, she'll stop and turn around and go, what?
Never mind. Lead the way.
She kind of leads you down and around the corner, and she actually leads you. That's the first time I've
Internally,
seen
like
this.
she's like, Alia's like going, how does Shirley do this?
Yeah. How does Shelly deal with people? Like, she tries to keep you safe, right? So Shelly doesn't want you out very often. She definitely doesn't stop you, but she very much encourages you to keep safe. And she leads you down through the cellar to a barber shop or like a hair shop. You could hear the buzzers like, and they're like shaving somebody's head. This is not a very stylish place. It's probably not a very clean place either. And she says, come on to the back. It's where the real magic happens. She kind of, her eyebrows raise. She gets back there and you can see there's like a very small door. Not only is it kind of short, it's a little narrow. And she goes, home.
Quite cozy.
She clicks the door open, and it is probably like 300 square feet. Maybe. It's like a room that's like maybe 300 square feet. And you can see she's got an excessive amount of clothing, like odd clothing from like in all kinds of form, like hanging along one rack. And her bed is clearly unmade. There's bottles everywhere. And she's like, come on in. She kind of like takes a seat on like the single chair she has, and she's like, I was gonna offer you a drink, but you said you don't drink much. You want a little bit?
Water is fine, thank you. Ice if you have some.
She kind of looks around like, I'm at a 5-star hotel. She walks over to the spigot that's in the room and like pours you some water, because water is in the cellar, depending on the day, that may not even be around. She fills the glass up for you and kind of slides it down and back to you. And she says, okay, water. So you got a name?
Well, and you see Aalyah kind of click the voice modulator off.
My name's Aalyah. Nice to meet you.
Well, nice to meet you too. I'm Jalissa.
Jalissa, do you have a last name?
Not important. It's not important
Well,
anymore.
I am looking for a particular person, and I had hoped it was you. I need, and I hope it's fine talking to you like this, but if you happen to be this person, I need some information.
Now you're talking my language. But I thought you were coming on to me. You just want information?
Oh,
Kind of like brushes her nose a little bit. She's like,
right.
I mean, I'll give you some information. I just this
I
is
mean,
all-
no. Trust me, in any other situation, you would be lovely. I just happen
that's
to
really
like-
nice of you to say. You know, I'm not sure if I like being a blonde. And she like pulls her hair down and kind of shakes the blonde out. She goes, it's kind of strange. And she like walks over to the mirror and like touches her face. It's all new today. I don't even remember what I look like. Not really, anyways. And she kind of turns around.
Okay. Well, you look lovely. I like the blonde. It's very catching.
Yeah. So about this information,
Mm-hmm.
what kind? I have all kinds of information.
There's been rumors about things happening in this town. And in particular, I'm looking for a woman. I've been told you might know of such information. She's tall. She's not as tall as I am. She's also bald. She goes by the name of Sholi,
Hey.
wearing robes.
Hey! And she kind of, it's like a light bulb goes and she points, she goes, she's been following me for a while. This is why I changed my face.
She
I'm
She
blonde
has.
because of her.
what? Okay.
So what are you here for? I lost her when, I didn't look like myself anymore.
Can you tell me when you last saw her?
She kind of looks at you like she's not sure if she should say this because it's like it actually matters to her.
Mhm.
She's like, yeah, I saw her. She's been following my sister too. I don't like it.
She has.
I
Can I
saw
ask you
her-
something?
Yeah.
Have you had any strange visions? Any incidences? Anything you could not explain?
You
Recently?
mean other than a tattoo that makes my body change?
That is one, but
She goes,
more
"But-
internally, more from you.
I mean, I'm gonna have a headache tomorrow morning. She goes, no, nothing like that. She's like, what are you asking me if I'm a mystic or something?
I mean, okay.
She goes, but yes, I saw her, a bald woman.
Can you
She
tell
was
me
talking
where?
with another female.
Do you know where? Where was it that you saw?
Rashina's.
That's where I came from. I saw circles on circles.
It's been like, I don't know, a few days. What is it, five or six, maybe?
6. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. If you see her again, if you happen to find her following you once more, can you please come to me and let me know?
Who is she?
Someone I know. Someone I need to meet.
Are you lying? You're gonna have to roll manipulation because that's a lie. That's a super lie.
All right. Oh, this is not gonna be good. This is gonna fit. Wait, if it's a zero.
Manipulation. If it's a zero, then just roll an empathy.
Okay, empathy. Where is it? Oh, there.
Aalyah
there.
can't lie. What we've learned today.
Yeah, no, she's not much of a liar. Yay!
Hey! She goes, well, okay. If I see her, I'll let you know. Where can I find you?
I'm at the bar usually every day. So around, how about in the evenings? I'll be there at 5 p.m.
It's a date. She kind of like jokingly like clicks at you, and she kind of like sits down, and you can see she's getting to that like passing out point. Like her body is just like totally done.
Oh. And like Aalyah comes down and like,
Oh.
Is she like about to fall over at all?
Yeah, she kind of just like onto the bed and like, you know, fat cat sits. She probably undoes the like zipper on the jumpsuit a little bit to like make some space for all of the liquid in her belly, and she goes, "Oh, well, bye."
are you okay? And then
Like Aalyah runs over like with a glass of water first, and she's
perhaps you should drink a little bit. Yeah, just water. Just
She splashes it all over her face. Oh,
that
better.
is not okay. That makes it better.
I feel better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps
You know
some
what?
rest.
I like you. Aalyah. She kind of like puts a hand on her shoulder. I like you. Oh, I like you. Because you
thank you.
Well, I don't know why I like you. I just have a good feeling about you. It's a good feeling. You know, Aalyah, not everybody likes me. My sister. She doesn't really like me.
Oh, don't say that.
Or my mom. She doesn't like me. Or my dad. He's all hoity-toity. He's a cop. She goes, they don't like me. But they don't know what I do. Why I do it.
At this point, Aalyah, like,
You can
being
tell
the
she's having a hard time, yeah.
yeah, Aalyah being the empath that she is, like she knows that like there's nothing else she can do tonight, so she kind of like sits down next to her and she's like,
Are you okay? Is that?
I'm fine. I feel fine. I feel great.
I don't know. Great.
I look great. She does not look great. She does not. And she goes, I just need another drink. You want to go out?
Perhaps some place not as a bar? Maybe some food? I feel like that could help. Yes. My treat.
Well, you're paying. So it is a date. I'm sold. She like zoots the zipper back up and like stands up kind of wiggly wobbly, and she's like, yeah, I could use some real food. Let's get some noodles. And some noodles?
Noodles sound wonderful. Thank you.
And the two of you will walk from the cellar to an elevator and go up to the main transportation that'll take you around and kind of moves you to the centermost HUD of Coriolis, which is a massive shopping complex. I don't think either of you have enough money to go into any of the like upper dining echelons. So you end up down here, which is, it makes me think of like an airport food court. Like tables, open face like restaurants, and like stands
just
and
multiple
things that people have. Just like anything that you could possibly want, somebody
like,
serving it. Just stalls, yeah.
It's like one of those like the Portland food cart places where there's a bunch of different food carts, and you just kind of
just like that. You just kind of do your thing. And so each of you find some noodles, and she begins to sober up as she munches on these noodles, and she kind of like finishes slurping one, and she says, I should apologize.
What for? There's nothing to apologize for.
You saved my drunk ass from a bar. And then You took me home and didn't take advantage of me. And then you brought me here and treated me to noodles.
I mean, that just seems what any decent person would do.
Can I tell you something?
Mm-hmm.
I think something bad is happening on Coriolis.
Why? What do you mean?
Kind of looks around. Nobody's paying any attention to a few. Just people are disappearing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The syndicate has its claws in everything. I have too much information. I have to keep changing, or they'll find me. And I have to keep Tal safe.
Is that your sister?
No.
I apologize. I should not have asked.
No.
Okay.
She's kind of like, keep that on the DL. That's probably like her big secret, right? Like she doesn't want you to know. And she says, I lied to you.
What do you mean?
It was my sister that Sholly was talking to.
Okay.
Who is she? This woman.
She's my mother. Well, as close as I could have to a mother anymore.
I'm sorry.
So I that's the reason why I need to ask you, please, if you know anything more, if you have seen or heard anything at all, can you please?
You said she went disappearing?
She's been missing for a few days. And I think
I have
let's just say that she has been investigating these disappearances as well. And we have been trying our best to monitor and take appropriate actions.
She is like them. She kind of means like kind of gestures like meaning mystic.
We are like them.
Oh. She like slurps up a noodle at the end. Okay. Wow. Way to keep, the important stuff hidden.
Secret for a secret, I would say.
She kind of nods and agrees that seems like a fair trade. And she says, this Sholly,
Aalyah is also banking on the fact that she's probably going to forget all this in the morning because she's so goddamn drunk.
She won't keep all of it. She goes, I have good information that every few days there are these like pods that just drop out of the bottom of Coriolis and fall to Kua. But don't say I told you.
Pods, you say? Do you know what they have inside?
People.
People?
So I've heard. Is it that hard to believe? All these missing people gotta go somewhere.
My dear God. Do you know where have you seen these pods? Have you seen them?
I've not seen them. I heard from a friend who heard from a friend who, might have some friends.
I see. Okay. No, this is good. This is good. This is information. This is. Come on, Aalyah. Think. What can I do?
She goes, you're real wound up about this one. You seem stressed.
It's been a few days. It's been quite a few days, for sure. And this information are starting to connect certain dots, but opening new doors for more mysteries that I need to solve.
Mm.
And it feels like the time is running out before I could solve anything. So I apologize if I seem a little bit out of it.
Because you know what you need? Not noodles. And no, not a drink. She goes, come here. I got something to show you. And she kind of stands up. And she takes your hand and leads you actually to some of the upper floors. And she's like, you guys are taking elevator. She goes, do you ever come up here? Where all the hoop-de-doos with all the money stay?
She kind of presents herself. She goes, and you can see like she's wearing very simple robes. Just a little, you know, they have patterns on them. Definitely something like not religious, but not quite like just something to kind of cover her shape up and kind of help her from whatever she could do, keep eyes off of her, make her seem less interesting than she might already be, considering her height.
And you... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Do I look like someone who goes up here often?
Maybe, but I got something. You're gonna love this. Anytime I'm feeling like shit, this is what I do. And she kind of opens it up, and when she does, she opens you up to the upper floors of residential, which is beautiful here. It has fake sunlight. It has tons of plants. There's like built-in parks on this tier. There's like a park inside of this space station with like fake sunlight. It's beautiful. It is the foil of the cellar in every way possible. I would say that the first thing that your eyes see is kind of off in the distance in one of the buildings. There are a lot of police officers and commandos that have like one of the balconies taped off. They seem to be doing, there's a lot of activity over there. You can see like lights in the whole area. And a couple people have gathered, but they're trying to keep people away as much as possible. And then you see her go, psst, over here.
Okay.
And she lifts up a hatch in the floor. And she says, do you trust me?
I don't know how much I can, or anybody can trust.
Come on, a little adventure
Enforcer.
never hurt anyone.
Aalyah was about to say something to that, but she thinks, well, some adventures do hurt, and points her nose, which is clearly broken.
She kind of pulls back, and you can see she's got like a big collarbone scar. She goes, I know what you mean, but I'm telling you, come on. And she drops down into this hatch. You can see it like absorbs her whole body, which means that you're going to have a little bit of a drop down. You can see that. Do you follow her?
I do. I think I do.
You know, like kind of maybe look around, make sure nobody sees you. Like this is super illegal. You're not supposed to be like under all of this. And when you drop down, it's probably not what you expect. You're on the underside of this park. You can see all this dirt that is kind of glassed in. It's in this massive glassing, and you can see like the roots of the trees. It's like cutting the earth in half and kind of looking down into this piece of dirt. She goes, pretty cool, right? But that's not the best part. Come here. And you round the corner and you see that there is a massive window that looks off into space, into blackness. Not it doesn't face the side, in terms of the rotation, it doesn't face the side of Kua. It faces out into nothingness. And it kind of is like dome shaped, so it bends outward a little bit, so it's convex. I think's right. It's convex. And she kind of walks over and she goes, check it out. And she opens her arms and she falls face first onto this dense piece of glass. And she goes, it's fine. And she kind of turns over and looks face down, and you can see she's like, come on, come join me.
Aalyah approaches and a little more gracefully tries to get on the floor, like knees first, and then kind of hesitating because clearly she's like, am I doing this right? Is this right?
Yeah.
And kind of goes face down.
And when you do, and she goes, put your arms out. Yeah. She's like, now just look. And for a brief moment, it feels like you're just floating in space. There's nothing but glass between you and this vast void of emptiness, and you can see stars and darkness. It's beautiful. And because of the way it's domed, it wraps around you. So your peripheral vision is also capsed in, and there's a strange feeling of just floating there for a second. And you hear Jalissa say, I come here when I'm sad and just try to regroup, you know?
I understand. This is an experience I never thought I would face. I'm not even floating in space, and I've been out there quite a bit, but this is different.
Sometimes you gotta find the stuff under the stuff, you know?
I think I do.
So, this woman, your mother, Sholey, you said she's important?
Well, I don't know if to anybody else, but to me, she's very important.
I think I gotta go.
Where do you have to go?
Just a feeling. I have a thought.
Well, will we see
And
each other again?
Probably.
Because I feel like I owe you a proper date after this.
She laughs and she says, see, you are charming. I knew it. And she says, yeah, I think I got a new mission. You know? She kind of pats you on the arm, very like friendly, like, you know, and she kind of stands up, and it's almost as if she like readjusts herself. It's like even though she's still tipsy and kind of drunk, it doesn't really matter. And she says, enjoy yourself. Nobody ever comes down here anyways. Oh, but they water the plants in the morning. Don't be down here in the morning. And she kind of saunters off, and you can see she seems deep in thought as she kind of climbs the ladder back up and out where you drop down, and you can hear the hatch kind of close, and you have kind of a quiet moment to yourself. The hustle and bustle of this very busy district above you of parks and fake sunlight and probably fake animals and birds to even go with it is all muted and densed out, and down here there's nothing but this you in this window, really.
And
Aalyah just kind of just sits down for a moment, and then as though instinctually, she kind of just goes into her meditating pose, you know, sits down cross-legged, and her eyes just kind of close for a bit. And all she's thinking about is Sholey and trying to figure out where she might be. But then even that, she's trying to dump out, kind of just empty her mind and just be. Because I feel like at this point, up till now, she's had so many different worries and so many things going on in her head. She has been like running around all these last few days trying to figure things out, that she kind of just takes this moment to, you know, recenter herself.
Yeah, and kind of breathe. And you go into a little bit of a meditative like state, like mind state, and you sit here and you meditate. And sometimes with meditation, no matter how hard you try to clear your mind, you actually see things. Not that your mind wanders, but that you're given things outside of your sight that you can see. And as you sit here in this meditation, you can't seem to get your heart to stop racing, and you can't figure out why. And while you try to keep your mind clear, there is a word that keeps just plaguing your inner monologue that you can't seem to be to quiet in some way. It keeps pinging you. Defiant. Defiant. Tuma. Defiant. Tuma. Tuma. Defiant. And this kind of repetitiveness as these two words process in your meditation are broken by a very quick image that like slices across your mind. Babir. But it's not back on a sand planet. It's not in the back of a vessel. crashed vessel. He steps off onto Coriolis. You see him. He takes the hand of a woman and walks away. When you come out, maybe of your meditation, or maybe you catch your breath, you're sweating again. Just like when you woke up a few days ago out of a nightmare.
He's here. Oh, dear Lord, he's here. And
You see her get up, and she walks out immediately. The silent, I mean the peace of the place, the quietness of the place shattered in her mind. It's still quiet and muffled, but to her, it's now, even those small noises are pretty much a cacophony of sound that she's trying to get away from. And she starts heading out. I think at this point, probably, I think she actually might first try to go find Jalissa.
Again,
Just as a last minute, because she wanted to make sure that she was okay and she made it home safely, because she knew that she wasn't, in the best
you walk
of states.
back and maybe even knock on the door. She's not there. And you don't see her again. Not for, well, you don't see her again.
But, by the way, did I recognize the woman that he was taking away?
Who?
Babir.
Oh.
You said he had a woman.
No. You do not recognize the woman. It just was some woman. He grabbed her hand. I imagine that she was rather blurry, right? Because it was like focused in on Babir.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, please. Is there anything specific you'd like to do? Because there's going to be a few days that kind of trail along here. If there's one thing specifically you'd like to like really dig into, like in terms of like an informational type thing or something you'd like to do, we could also go that route.
I think for now, like definitely her now big new information was about the people being, sent out, and somehow the syndicate is involved in this, in the movement of people. So you might try to go in and investigate that.
Okay. You can roll it's not subterfuge. What is it? What do they call it in this game? It's going to come infiltration. An infiltration will be like, I'm going to kind of sneak around and just try to pick up information spy style.
Okay. That is not her style.
I was about to say, you could choose to do just a flat, like, I'm going to sit around and see what I observe. That's always an option.
Why is that also a 0?
You could, you could try to command some people to give you, like, you could try to command it out of some people. You could try to, I was going to see, manipulate it out of them. That's kind of like you could try to talk it out of them. Or, I don't know, what kind of mystic abilities do you...
I have premonition, I believe. Let me double check. Where is it? Mystic powers, premonition, yes, is what I have.
You could always use you could always try to actually roll for a premonition.
True. I think that's what she might try doing, just because
so probably
everything else is a 0.
A few days, like after a few days, I imagine that we see you walk the cellars, pine over this. You find nothing. No sign of Sholly. Nobody knows where she is. Most people don't even know who she is because nobody's supposed to know who she is. You continually hit dead ends, and you're beginning to feel a sense of loss, as if she's not gonna come back. And you know that you don't have the means to take a flight to Kua. So maybe we see you at one point sit up again out of a hot sweat, maybe a nightmare, maybe a bad dream, or maybe you're just like Dot and you sleep hot, and I
feel like she would definitely be, now that she knows of the place, I feel like she would keep going back to that domed area where like space is available, just because now she does find some sort of peace there.
Maybe even hoping that like
and then definitely
Jalissa
she wants
may return.
I think definitely that night she remembers it, and part of it is out of concern, like hoping she was okay, because she seemed like something had come up and walked away on a mission of some sort.
Yeah.
So hoping she came back from said mission and she was fine.
So far, no word from Jalissa. But you meditate, and this day you decide maybe you'll do even a little more. Maybe you'll actually try to reach out a little bit and wield the darkness through your mystic abilities. So let's get your mystic powers roll.
Okay. Hey.
Okay. A limited success. That's still a success. You sit into deep meditation. You can feel the space beneath you as you sit kind of in this domed window, and you leave yourself a little bit. And I'm going to make sure, because premonition is different than another one. I don't want to.
Okay.
I want to make sure I get it right. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's the darkness point page. That's the darkness point. Skills, talents. That's what I want, right? Talents.
Talents? I think so. No, talent I thought is that what? Yeah, talents.
Talents, group talents. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to find the mystic ability talents. Cybernetics. Okay. General talents. Where are you at? Mystic. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. You, premonition. In some mysterious ways, you can sense impending danger. Okay.
That's
great. I just wanted to finish reading that. Perfect. Okay. So you sit here, and that same pounding in your heart, you can hear it, right? It starts real slow, and it begins to pick up as your adrenaline begins to race, and your mind and your body and your essence reaches out into the darkness for some kind of answer, a premonition. Back, of course, and this is how the power works, the balance, as Sholly would call it, of having an ability, is that your premonition is always of impending doom. That is what premonitions are. It's never going to be about something happy. It's always going to be about impending doom. And I might see something for season 3 instead. Okay. You sense something in space and time, a disruption. That same song. It calls out. It's more urgent now than ever before. But you still can't hang on to it, right? You can't manage to get grasp, or your mind can't hold it. You feel so much pain and misery, so much hurt and harm and hate. It's almost overwhelming, and you may think you're going to drown, and then as your body literally breathes, your premonition kind of stops rushing and comes to a resounding halt. You see Samina standing over the body of a man. He's not anybody that you know, but he seems of import. 2 daggers stick out of his sides, and he seems to sit rather gingerly, like in a chair. Like he was in the chair, and then she stabbed him probably from behind, and she looks over at him as he like bleeds from kind of the sides of his mouth, and he clearly kind of dies there. And then you see Jalissa. She doesn't look... You know it's Jalissa, but she doesn't look like the blonde girl from the bar. At all. Curly, dark hair. She walks through empty darkness. She carries a handmade weapon, and you can hear this growling off in the distance as she gets a running start and dives for some massive creature that hides in metal hallways. And then it cuts one more time. And you see Sholly in the arms of a red-haired woman.
There are other people there. And you watch as she dies. Sound of blaster shots in the background, and she fades away. Her light goes out. And then this strange man that you don't know, he opens something. He lets the light back out. And she breathes life once again. And that breath of Sholey coming back is, in fact, also your breath as you're kind of ripped out of this premonition.
Holy, oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god.
She's in her room at this point, or is she in the domed area?
I would say you're in this domed area.
Okay. She immediately runs out and climbs up the stairs.
You climb up the stairs, and there is somebody there, adjudicator, mask. She's female. She stops, looks down at you crawling out of this hatch. She says, "You're not supposed to be in there."
Click.
I'm sorry, I was lost. I was just trying to find my way, and the hatch was open. I thought that was to the next level down.
Papers.
Come now, I don't need the papers. I just walked out. It's not like I carry them with me everywhere I go.
Coriolis policy says you should have your papers on you at all times. You can try to make a manipulation if you'd like.
All right.
Hey, a success. She kind of squints and she says, "Dare I ask what you were doing under the park?"
Well, I mean, it was a. I heard that was a way out. I was trying to go back to the lower levels. I'm sorry. It's a big station, and I'm fairly new around here. And
where were you trying to go?
Back to the lower levels?
The cellar.
Yes.
She says, "Well, you're in luck. I'll escort you." You can hear her like click the comms on in her headset.
Headed down to the cellar. I'll be back to the crime scene shortly. Kasha, out.
And she says, "Come, I'm Judicator Kasha. I am a tad busy, but we can't have riffraff running around in the underbelly of Coriolis. So let me assure you make it back to where you belong."
Well, thank you for taking the time. Trouble?
Always. But it is my job.
Well, thank you for doing it.
She says, "Since you don't have your papers, can you at least tell me your name?"
My name is Aalyah. It's nice to meet you.
Aalyah. I'd say it's nice to meet you too, but there's nothing nice about Coriolis these days. Come. And she, with great vigor and purpose, marches down into the cellar. You take she doesn't say much unless you're going to try to talk to her. She's not going to talk to you. This is basically a police escort back to your district.
No, she tries to make like casual banter, and I think she might actually want to investigate more into like what the situation that she was talking about over the walkie-talkie, if she can gather it at all, like considering how many things are going on.
Oh, that's an observation or wits roll.
Okay.
I'll take either.
What is my observation? Is 0, so I will do wits because that is much better.
Okay.
Fuck.
She doesn't talk much about it. She says, "Unfortunately, I can't disclose that information. It is a crime scene. I'm sure you've heard." And she gestures to one of the monitors that's repeating the story of the emissary, the missing emissary. And she says, "But don't you worry. We're here to keep you safe and to assure that we return the emissary exactly like he left."
That's good to hear. Thank you.
And she says, now, and the kind of elevator like slides open. She says, home, please. And if you're going to visit the upper floors, at least respect the people that live there.
I have not, I understand. I have not met anybody. I have not disturbed anybody. I just happened to go through. I understand. I apologize.
She kind of nods, and you see she actually steps off the elevator and heads the opposite direction of you. Deep, like off into another part of the cellar. She seems to have business here, possibly.
Aalyah hesitates for a bit, and then she follows, or tries to follow.
Tries to follow?
More of like, she tries to see if she can, this is her place. This is her home. She's just walking around. Make it as casual.
That's an infiltration. If you don't have infiltration, you can roll agility.
Oh, actually, I might have agility, but let me check. Infiltration is a 0, so yay, agility. Let's see. Ah, dear lords, come on. Did it do it?
Failure.
Oh, fuck. Never mind.
Here's the thing, though. You are following and not very well. Like, she probably knows that you're there, but she doesn't really care because as she rounds the corner, she almost gets hit with a blaster shot. As it like, she kind of backs up and she immediately grabs her gun and comes around the corner and she says, I am Adjudicator Kasha. Put your weapons down. And a firefight begins to break out here in the cellar. Not unheard of. It happens all the time. You're kind of around the corner. Do you do anything?
Oh, what do I do?
You could also re-roll. That's right. Chat's right. You could give me a darkness point and re-roll it.
I mean,
Y'all are just setting me up for all these darkness points when y'all try to break Sewell out of that prison.
I think honestly, like, she thinks that she has. I think this is actually in character, considering her stature and who she is. Like, this is very much like, she is agility. She does have agility, and she's quite spry, all considering. But she's big, and she's easy to be identified. So
the good news is there's a lot of commotion as like people scream, a woman grabs her kid, and a lot of people are running away from the action. And you can hear kind of the shouts as shots are fired. Two people say, they're not who they say they are. They're taking our women and children. There's like this whole like chaotic, just like people are like shooting blasters. Do you enter combat? Do you round the corner? That's the real question.
I think at that point, Aalyah does, especially after hearing, they're taking the women and children. A sense of protection, a sense of wanting to help them comes about. And literally, I think what she does, because it's a firefight, is there anything like big and thick around, like a barrier of any sort? It doesn't even, it just has to be even a makeshift.
Crates. There would be probably some kind of steel barrel that you could pick up. Yeah, I wouldn't know that it's probably not flat. Like, there's not like a shield, like a sheet of metal, but you could find something to put in front of you or to throw.
I think no. She picks that up and kind of tries to hide behind and use that as a method of
cover.
Yeah.
Okay. And I imagine that it's probably right there on the edge. And as you kind of squat, you can even peer over and see. And what you see is it's Kasha, 2 more commandos in like full armor gear, and they're firing at 3 kind of average citizens, 3 men down at the other end of this like area that's now very much cleared out. They seem to be it seems that these civilians believe that the 2 commandos are not who they say they are.
I would say, oh man, what would she do? And did she hear the person that said they're trying to take the woman and children? And is there any civilians in danger?
So far, other than like the people that are trying to get out, it seems that these men are accusing these other 2 commandos of specifically being not who they say they are, and that they're involved in all the people going missing. Not specifically any women and children on site right now, but they are involved in the larger Mysticide problem.
Oh man. I guess Aalyah, the first thing she tries to do is look for seeing it, like to see if that she can protect anybody that's around. that's kind of hidden or in hiding and trying to like cover from the fire?
Maybe there's you know what? This is perfect for you. There's a kid who you hear whimpering, who's like hiding on the opposite side of the hallway behind some like crates and things.
Okay, she will try to make her way there.
Okay, yeah, you kind of dodge over as more blaster fire comes by. The kid is kind of like, I'm trapped.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm here. I'm fine.
You hear one of the men go, ah! And he falls to the ground dead. They've shot one of them.
I cover his vision. I cover the kid's vision and be like, it's
Yeah.
okay. Look at me. Look at me. You'll be fine. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. And then she lifts him up and kind of hugs him close and kind of tries to cover his face and like puts it against her shoulder. So that
He
way.
very much like arms around your neck. Like there's no fight from this child.
Yeah. And then I try to one-handedly pick up the crate.
And toss it.
And I'm going to what I'm going to do is I think Aalyah is going to try and toss it into a different corner to kind of distract people away from the situation, as though like everybody kind of looks there, and then she's going to try to make her way out of there.
Okay. Let's go ahead and toss it. So this is going to be a force.
Okay. All right. Come on.
Full of stuff.
Okay. God damn.
You toss it. It's just not very far. It doesn't like explode open, and it basically doesn't cause the distraction. Like you toss this crate out there, and it kind of goes sliding between the Judicator commandos and what is left now of these two men. And as you pick this couch out up and you kind of toss it out, then you run across to safety. You kind of see out of the corner of your eye, they take down the other two men, shoot them dead. The firefight kind of stops. And as you get to the other side, there's a woman there, and she screams as she kind of reaches out for the kid, clearly the child's mother. And she says, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And she tries to like give you stuff. Like she's got like bread and some things on her.
No. Please. Run. It's not safe. Get out of here. Take your things. Take your kid. Wait
she kind of grabs the kid. Yeah. And she runs. You tell her to run. She's running. She trusts you. And then you hear them having a conversation because they didn't really see you. You kind of pass like behind. You hear Kasha say, clean up this mess. And the two of you need to hide yourselves better. We can't have just anybody claiming that you're not who you say you are. I have business upstairs. If I hear about this again, I'll make sure the two of you are at the wrong end of a blaster. And they're both like, you hear them both go,
yes, ma'am.
And they kind of begin like picking the bodies up. And starting to kind of like move them. People stay clear of this area. Kasha comes across and she reaches into just a pocket on her cargo pants and she begins taping this area off, creating like a crime scene. And she hits her comms, reports it to send extra people. And Kasha walks off like farther, where the same direction she was headed. She still clearly has all of that business down here. But you're not going to be able to continue to follow her because it's on the wrong side of this crime scene. And again, a few days will pass. The song gets louder and stronger. And that feeling in your gut of Sholly dying doesn't seem to go away. In fact, you are pretty sure you feel her die. Maybe you're having dinner or trying to meditate. But something leaves you when it leaves her. You feel her pass. And then on this night, you're woken up in a hot sweat, not by a bad dream, but by a feeling. By a voice in your mind's eye, Sholly's voice. And she says, wake up, Aalyah.
Is she in like a
you
vision?
Like sit up, you're
Okay.
you're in your bedroom. Like you heard her voice. But you sit up and she's not there.
Charlie,
Oh my god. Oh my, okay. Get it together, Aalyah. Get it together. Think.
There's a knock at your door.
Who is it?
There might be a small little screen or HUD or something. You turn it on. Out front is Samina. She's very clearly trying to hide her face. She wears a hood, which is not usual for her.
I open the door immediately.
Oh my god! Thank God! And then
she actually runs up and like straight up just bear hugs.
Yeah, and Samina is not used to that. She goes, "Okay, I was just here to deliver some good information. It seems you may need it."
Where have you been? Are you okay? Have you been fine?
Of course I am. I've been undercover, I guess you could say. Been doing some more researching into this problem.
Come in.
Oh, she's already in the door, like closed. And she's like, I have found the source. It seems that they are done moving people for a while. They got what they needed. But I'm not giving up yet. My time will come. And she kind of adjusts and she says, but that's not why I'm here.
At this time, you can like, Aalyah's pretty distraught. And so like half of what she's saying is registering, half of it is not. And all you hear is suddenly go,
oh, okay. Good. That's good. That's
Aalyah, sit down. Sit down.
Okay.
Would you like to talk about it? She kind of rolls her eyes a little bit.
Talk about it. Where do I even begin? What do I say?
Surely would say, what's on your mind?
Well, I fear that Shirley might not say anything. I felt her die. Samina. I felt her being pass. And yet, today I hear her voice in my head. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I've been searching frantically for her, and each day is more desperate, each day more hopeless. And then, as soon as I hear that voice, you show up. I don't know what to do.
I was here to tell you I've gotten to the bottom of the Tuma name. Keeps coming up. It seems that there is a pilot. She's likable.
Okay.
Her name, Tal Tuma.
You said Tal.
I did. She
Right.
flies with an interesting crew, to say the least. Some would say they are judged. She kind of stands upright. You would know that one of the big constant struggles between her and Sholi was that she chose to worship the judge and not the Lady of Tears. That there was always a little contention there because they're very different icons and they represent very different things. And she says, that being said, I got word about 2 hours ago. I have put a request to know the goings to and from of Tal Tuma's vessel, the Defiant. I have a particular interest in one of her crew. He's part of my plan. Needless to say, they have arrived back on Coriolis. Maybe you'll find what you're looking for with this Tal Tuma.
Okay.
and you see like Aalyah close her eyes for a little bit, and kind of just piece herself back together again and kind of sit up a little straighter. Like she's definitely trying to get more composed and bring it in together. And especially now that those words like Defiant and Tuma have been said in this conversation, she realizes this is it. This is the finally the lead or the direction that she's been looking for this entire time. And
thank you. This is exactly what I needed. I really appreciate it, Samina.
Don't thank me yet. They're trouble. The whole lot of them.
How so? Okay. Well, I mean, if you say they are, I'll be careful. Do you know where it landed? Do you know how I can find them?
She hands you a slip of paper. Handwritten. Private docs. Good luck.
Well,
these are in the upper 100 floors of Coriolis. They're parked in the schwanky side of Coriolis.
Oh dear. Well, this is going to be an easy elevator up. How am I supposed to get up there?
That's not my problem. And I must go. Like I said, puzzle pieces are moving, and one of the important ones just arrived back on Coriolis.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you're okay. Really.
You keep saying that.
Because it's true.
She kind of smiles, a small smile, and she says, well, till next time. Oh, and you owe me one.
She kind of hits suffice.
Yeah, she hits the button, it like slides open, and now all you can see is like her silhouette. And what do you say?
With some tea suffice.
She goes, you know I don't drink tea.
One day
Another
I'll
fight
get
her
you.
and Sholey always had. And she kind of leaves. Here's the thing about the private docks. Not anybody can be in this area. It's wealthy residential. It's going to take you a couple days to get the right codes and the right people before you can make your way up there. But finally, after about 48 hours of hard work and probably trading every burr that you have, you get the right access codes to get up the elevator, and the right access codes to like get into that numerical section of those like private docks. And you see it. A ship docked at the end of a sterile like gangway. And written on the side, it says the Defiant.
She starts approaching the ship carefully. I mean, she doesn't want to incite any unnecessary eyes, especially considering that she should definitely not be here at all in any sense of the word. And I think, she definitely tries to spruce herself up a bit. She has an old set of bit more of a religious attire that she's kept for more formal occasions. And you see, it's not form fitting, but it's not as loose as her robes. She has a what's the weapon that I have? The Dura sword. This Dura sword, or more of a dagger, I guess you could say, a ceremonial dagger in her waist, against her belt, and still her face is being covered by a veil, with her voice modulator on, and tries to feel a bit more upper class or look a bit more classy, so that way at least her attire won't give her away.
I would say you kind of spruce yourself up. You've been preparing for this. It's taken you, like I said, 48 hours. In this time, there's been a big hoop to do about a man named Merez Alcan, who's been arrested, and is being blamed with a large portion of the mysticides. He's being taken away basically forever, and put into one of the top tier, like, critical prisons in the Third Horizon. There's been a whole lot of things going on, but that is really the one that's like made front page, and we kind of see it flash, right? Miraz Al-Khan leaves Coriolis last night, right? On a screen behind you as we see you walk down this gangway towards the ship. Do you ring? Do you knock? Do you say anything?
I definitely, if there's an intercom, she rings the intercom, and you hear.
Yeah, I think we've had a ship doorbell before. It's like doo doo, and it rings, and I imagine there is a little bit of a pregnant pause, and the screen then pops up, and it's not a face that you know, but a voice that you know. And somebody says, "Holy shit, Aalyah?" And it's very clearly Jalissa. She looks very beat up. You can see she's got a little bit of a black eye, and she hits the button, and it like slides open, and you kind of see Jalissa standing there, and behind her there are quite a few people. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Did I get that right? No, 3 of them, because one of them's that. One of them's 3 people plus Jalissa stand there looking at you. And she goes, "What are you doing here?"
I didn't. I was not expecting you here.
Well, I wasn't expecting you here. What are you doing?
I'm looking for I'm looking for Jory.
She grabs you and like pulls you into the ship, and she takes you, like, without saying anything, around the corner to the medical bay. There lies Sholly, sleeping, or like resting. You can see she's not on a ventilator or anything anymore, but she's very malnourished. She looks very sickly. And Jalissa says, "My sister's gonna be really mad that I let you on the ship, but you inspired me to do a little bit more digging. I found out some stuff and made my way to Kua."
Kua, you said? To the planet?
Yeah. She was shipped down with the rest of them. She's the only one who made it out alive.
Shit.
And you just see Aalyah like, as if though all the stress that she's been holding in kind of get relieved, but then at the same time, it feels like it's like this sense of stress being relieved, and then another additional burden now being added on with the thought of her being the only one alive and the implications that come with that. But it's there, but it hasn't fully registered with her. All she sees is Sholly in front of her, and like her hands shakily approach and grabs her hand, of Sholly's hand.
Oh, thank you.
Her eyes probably actually flutter awake at this point. And she smiles at you, and she reaches her hand up and she says, "Aalyah, you look well."
I wish I could say the same to you.
Yes, well, I have been rescued.
From what? Never mind. We can talk later. I just.
She says, "Shh, shh, 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 listen. I need you to do something for me. Can you do this?"
Can it wait? Look at you. You're not.
No, she goes, "I am, and it's important. They gave up something important, very important, so that I could be here."
Who did?
She gestures to the door where I imagine you see Tal and Tamir standing. I'm not sure. It's been about 48 hours since they landed. Malik was probably starting his like hiding process. He may not be there quite yet, but he's getting close. Maybe he's there. Maybe not, but definitely the two of them. They kind of stand and hover in the door, and she says, "They did. They stopped the operation, And I don't have the energy to tell you all this now, but listen to me. I can't stay on Coriolis anymore.
What do you mean? Where are you going?
She says, we've always been fugitives, Aalyah. But there is something much bigger at play here. And I need you to teach them. And her head kind of rolls and looks to Tamir and Tal. They need you. And I must go. I'm being called elsewhere. I have been given a second chance. I cannot waste that. She says,
we've been together for 10... I can't imagine without you. I mean, you go for a few days, but...
You're not without me. I'll be back. But I'm...
leaving? Sorry, go.
I'm not leaving you. She kind of pats and squeezes your hand. She says, I'm giving you something. A gift. A family. And she kind of looks at, Jalissa and Tal and Tamir, and she says, These are good people. And the icons, they watch out for them. They need your guidance. The two of them have abilities that I can't understand. They are connected in a strange way. Their abilities are intertwined. And they don't have a teacher. You have been my student for 15 years. You are not my student anymore. She says, more importantly, there is a soul that needs saving. It is the same soul that was sacrificed for mine. I know you do not understand now, but you will. And she kind of tries to sit up a little bit. She says, I will leave tomorrow.
You're not even fit to get up right now.
She says, do you underestimate me? She says,
That's not a fair question.
Let's get dinner and some tea. And I have desperately missed a good meditation.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning, I'll answer your questions. And...
okay.
It's not goodbye forever. Just goodbye for now. And it's not even tomorrow yet, Aalyah. What is the one lesson you're always learning? We must live in the now. Come. And she kind of very weakly stands to show you that she can walk. And Jalissa probably helps her, and Tal and Tamir watch. And maybe as the two of you go to leave, to maybe get some food or to find some privacy so that you can spend your last 24 hours together, you see a man, Malik, sitting at a table in the Defiant, like in the mess area. On the table in front of him is a canister. It's a cylindrical canister, like about the height of like a soup canister, but a little bit wider. It has like glowing red edges kind of like around it, like where it's kind of the mechanism's locked in place. And though it doesn't look anything like anything you've ever really seen, there is something about it. I don't want to say that he cries, but he seems to be in mourning, literally mourning over this canister. And something about it flashes back to you, mourning over a container and a vessel 15 years ago. It all feels so personal and kind of like home. And Sholly explains to you why these people need you and why you need them and how you can no longer stay on Coriolis. She tells you about the dead emissary. Spoiler alert. She tells you about the dead emissary and the kind of experiments that they were doing on the mystics. And she tells you that there are still 4 mystics, or 4 emissaries out there hiding among the stars. And she and this crew are going to find them. And she wants you to help.
Fine, I'll do my best.
You always do. And she says, come on, I need a cup of tea.
Mm.
And we see Sholly and Aalyah walk off for what is probably their last cup of tea together. At the point in which the Defiant returns from Kua. Sholly in hand, Jalissa in hand, but more shattered than they ever have been. Sewell's been taken away to prison under false pretense, or under false, well, again, won't give too much away there. And the rest of the crew is also a little lost, beaten. They all seem to be mourning, not just the loss of Sewell, but the loss of someone else. It's hard for them to talk about. But they need you. And Sholly says that they need you. And so for the next year, we see Aalyah ingrain herself into the crew of the Defiant. Malik is never around, but eventually Tal and Tamir tell you what actually happened. With Lamara and the jar, or the canister. The truth of what went down on Kua, which I'm not spoiling because you haven't watched it yet. I'm going to make you watch it now.
Oh, we're gonna watch it.
I know.
I'll make
I know you
time.
have to watch it now. And more importantly, you find friends. And the 3 of you spend a great amount of time praying and meditating and working on your mystic abilities. They give you a room. And they have a temple on board this ship. Things that maybe you didn't even know you needed. And every once in a while, Tamir and Tao will make a trip out all the way to the meteor, not the meteor shower, the, oh my gosh, my brain just went, asteroid field, thank you. The asteroid field between Kua and Zine. And you can see the planet of the emissary off at a distance on the other side. But you have a new friends, new home, new family. And Sholly tells you as she hops on board another ship that she'll be back. This time with good news.
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say the last thing that as Sholly leaves, and not sure, it's definitely not loud. And she doesn't know if Sholly would have heard it at all or anything, but it's more so for herself. She goes,
see you very soon, Mama.
and
we see Sholly's ship and take off, leaving the site of Aalyah, the newest member and crew of the Defiant, working to solve the great puzzle of how they're going to break Sewell out of prison. We see you around a table at the end of Tao's one shot. We see you arrive on the ship that rescues Malik from a junk planet. I don't know. Did we see you? I think we saw you praying at the top of Tamir's, and then we hear about Tamir's struggles, actually. So I imagine I'm interested to see the balance between you and him, since he struggles a little bit with the kind of like hyper spiritual way and things you bring to the table. And then all the way back to the point of the Defiant coming back from Kua at the end of season 2. We see who actually greets them at the other end of the gangway. It is their newest member, Aalyah.
You're here. That's it.
Yay!
That's it. I'm an unmade. Yes, Eldritch Alligator. Unmade die.
Yay! We
You
made
did
it.
You did it. I told you it
Aw.
wouldn't be painful. There was a lot to get through, but I had to set up a lot of little things here and there. Lots of little things. I set up a lot of stuff. And hopefully I didn't spoil the end too much because I know you're not there yet.
No worries. No. That was amazing. And, obviously, the story can't progress without a little bit of that, but it was definitely nothing to worry about. And I enjoyed every bit of it. So
this, yours was very interesting. I wanted to wait till you were till the end because you were kind of like, I had seeded all of these strings, or I had like drawn all these strings between all of these different people and all of these different NPCs. And really your character is a thumbtack for how they all kind of collided, right? We saw Kasha go to the cellar. We saw this thing happen here. We saw this thing happen there. Kasha going to the cellar, guess what? Was them sending Kasha to the cellar from the crime scene, right? So like we see these moments, like I wanted to weave all of these individual moments where we're seeing things happening, where we're seeing Samina / Amira, whichever you want to call her, seeing the opposite side because our crew hates her so very much. But they don't actually know what she's doing. They think they know what she's up to, but they actually have no idea. And tonight, because you have a different perspective and feeling for her than they do, you're able to see past the hard facade and the cheekiness, and we're able to get to the core of the fact that like she was actually stalking the head of the syndicate, that she was actually trying to get involved, that she was sleeping with him so that she could keep tabs on him, right? Yeah, he doesn't hate her. She left him on a junk planet. I assume he hates her. So yeah, there's some very cool things, and like I wanted to set up this like dense backstory of like the kid being your best friend, but he was actually a jinn that was feeding on people in your village.
So good.
That Sholey is the one that trapped him in that vessel all those years ago. Which means there's definitely a grudge happening there. That's going to cause some drama. I can feel it. So I hope that you enjoyed it. And it was a pleasure getting to meet Aalyah, I think. Like getting to see, because let me tell you, Aalyah goes about things hell a lot different than the crew of the Defiant. I'll be very excited to see your like, everybody just stop. Yeah, your approach to being like a lot slower, right? Like if they had been the crew of the Defiant, we would have been in a firefight in the cellar. But like you immediately were like, where are the women and children? Who's in danger? Like it's a very interesting like change of perspective, and I think it's really awesome. So
I'm excited. I'm very excited for sure. Thank you for this.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And then the next one, we're gonna get to see all of you come together. You've been helping them
I'm excited.
This big breakout of Sewell from prison, from this high security prison on the back ass end of the Third Horizon, and now we're gonna get to see if you can actually like get him out. So yeah, so the next one shot, y'all, is in December. Mike, I don't remember the date. Put the date in chat.
5th or something like that. It's fairly close. It's not too far. It's like 2 or 3 weeks away.
It's like 2 or 3 weeks out. I gotta get my shit together for that. So we'll have one more. This is the first time that the entire crew is coming back together. The 10th, is it really the 10th?
Is it? Oh my God. We're all just tossing numbers. December 10th. Okay, there it is.
December
okay,
10th. I should definitely probably put that on my calendar.
Yeah, I think we should. We definitely. I definitely need to.
Probably make that happen right now.
No, I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did actually.
Okay. I think I did too, actually, now that I say that. That being said, everybody join us back here on the 10th in just a couple weeks, as we're going to get a mini one-shot with Sewell. So we're going to see what Sewell's life has been like since he's been in this high security prison. And we're going to get to see what I hope is an Ocean 11 style like prison break. It's not really a heist movie, but they're going to do some planning, and then they're going to try to like to get Sewell out. So we'll see. We shall see. Tell everybody who you are and where they can find you.
First and foremost, I want to thank you, Dot. You were absolutely amazing.
Please. I can't do it without you.
Lies. I couldn't definitely not have done this without you, because you were such a pro in leading me into things, because I was just half the time like, what am I doing? I don't know. But thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you all for joining us today. I had an absolute blast. My name is KP. I go by KP11 Studios on pretty much all your known social medias. So Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. I'm a photographer, a creator, streamer, occasional one-time cosplayer that with only one trick pony under his belt. But I do enjoy him very much. Outside of that, yeah, that's pretty much me. If you like anything that's photography related, culture related, mythology related, I do several shows on my Twitch channel that are related to all of those. So come join us. For example, well, we didn't get a chance to do it yesterday because of things come up, but every Wednesday we try to do a show called Story Time, where it's my dad and I sit down and he narrates various mythological or Indian mythological stories and tries to explain it further and give further context so that people get a little bit more of understanding and hopefully get inspired to use that information to make new and creative things. And yeah, if you also like cooking, I do a cooking show. So anyways, I do a bunch of weird, random, eclectic things that don't seem to be related to each other, but hopefully it's enjoyable still. So yeah, there you go.
It is all related because it's all amazing things that KP does.
Fair.
Go check it out. I'm Dot. Thanks for being here tonight, everybody. Don't go anywhere because this is not over. You're going to see my face again, along with the faces of another crew as we close out an Aliens campaign here on unMadeGaming. So stick around. I'm going to be honest. I have to pee and take a break because I am human and need a moment to catch my breath. And so we'll be back for what is going to be basically a pretty high stakes game as we're here at the end. And I imagine we're going to see a lot of xenomorphs and a lot of death tonight. That is the goal. So don't go anywhere. We're going to go right into this. Mike's going to make a screen change so that we're not live anymore. Thanks, everybody. Well, yeah, tell him, Mike. Tell us what's happening.
That's all I was going to say. Thank you guys for being here. If you like what we do here, join us over on our Patreon. Join us in the Discord. Link for both of those things down below. Stick around. We're going to transition out of here, transition right back into Alien. So stick around. Stay in your seats. We have an epic finale coming up next. So we'll see you guys here in a few minutes. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.